Please welcome Jason.
I don't even know where to go from there. Let's just talk about basements in America. They just put a whole room below the ground. It's wonderful. Okay. So what I want to talk about today is something that is near and dear to my heart because I feel like things are getting a little bit messy and I would like for them to get better, because to go online these days is to spend a lot of time being told that things are bad. We hear about why we should use something or else we're going to lose our job, or we shouldn't use something or else we're going to lose our job, or the robots are coming for our jobs, or the robots are going to give us worse jobs. We're not quite sure yet, but we know it's going to be bad, right? And if you watch this long enough, it can make you feel like maybe it's time to just quit tech. Whoa, what is happening?
Oh yeah, the clicker does two things at once.
Cool, we're gonna just skip that then. Yeah, we're just gonna skip that. All right, so I'll just stand over here then. It can make you feel like you wanna quit tech and maybe go live on a farm, right? But then, as you start thinking about that a little bit more, you realize that working on a farm is actually extremely hard work. So, we're gonna make this tech thing work after all. And so, I wanna be clear that I don't think work needs to be fun. I don't think that there's anything wrong with treating a job like a job. In fact, I think it's extremely healthy to treat a job like a job. But if we look at the numbers, this is what a week looks like if we split it up by time that we're working, time that we're not working, and time that we're asleep. So, if we run that math, that means that in your adult life, effectively, you will spend 24% of your time working. And if we assume that all of us in here have great sleeping habits and get 8 hours a night, 36% of the time that you're awake as an adult is spent working. So, that can put us in a pretty odd situation if we decide that work is just gonna be miserable. So, to take a tiny philosophy break, I don't get to choose what happens outside of my control. I can't afford not to work, and therefore, whether or not I work is not a choice that I get. I have to work. But I do get to decide if I let the things that are out of my control make me miserable. So I think about it a lot like this meme. I love this meme. Because I think that one way that you could take this is you could look at it as work is a terrible burden that I must bear for the remaining 20 to 50 to however many years until retirement. Or we can look at work as being something that will be as fun as we decide to make it. And it's kind of the two choices that we get, right? Like, we can be mad about it or we can try to make the best of it. So, before I go on any further, I want to be very clear that I am not your boss, I am not your dad, and I am not a financial advisor. I'm just your friend Jason, and I'm going to talk about my story, the choices that I made, and I hope that any of this will be useful to you. So I decided to choose fun, right? I don't like the idea of being bummed, of being angry, of being resentful. And if that was my alternative, then I'm gonna figure out how to make work fun. So, to make work fun, we need the fun projects. So how do you get fun projects at work? Well, first you gotta decide what fun is, right? What fun is to you, because I think that what's fun to me, I found for a lot of other people, is highly chaotic and stressful. So if you don't enjoy highly chaotic and stressful projects, first, transfer off my team immediately. And second, do some of that exploration on your own to figure out, like, when did I feel good? What was the last project I did where when I got done with it, I was like, yeah, more like that, please. So another little tiny philosophy break. Your career is a pie eating contest where the prize for winning is more pie. And I say this as a joke, but I am 100% dead serious. Whatever you project into the world is what people will offer back to you. If you go out into the world and you say, I am an enterprise Java developer, they will offer you enterprise Java work. If you go into the world and you say, I am a front-end JavaScript developer, they will offer you front-end JavaScript work. You tell people how to treat you, right? So before you start, make sure you like the pie that you're competing to eat. It's very important. So the other thing that I've found that has really led me to a lot of fun and just general joyfulness in my career is embracing this idea of building a lot of silly shit just for fun. I have had a really hard time taking myself, the industry, code, it's hard for me to take it seriously. Because at the end of the day, I think I'm a nihilist because I don't feel like any of this stuff, man. I rearrange dots on a screen in hopes that somebody will transfer some credits into my imaginary bank account that I can spend on food, right? And outside of the food, the rest of it is pretty silly. So I can build whatever I want. And the thing that I've found about this is that play tends to make me, and according to some research that I Googled before I made this deck, all of us, better at learning. Because when you're playing, you have increased engagement with the thing that you're doing. When you are being playful, you have higher resilience. You're more likely to try again after you fail. It's like a video game. If you're having a good time, you know you're gonna die. You just go back to the most recent save point and start again, right? And you have lower stress. And generally speaking, lower stress is good for a lot of things, but it's good for memory. It's good for your health. It's good for your ability to continue doing the job for a long time without burning out. So I tend to build a lot of really silly projects. This is something that I built a little while back called ESLint plugin reply guy. And all this does is give you contradictory advice for a bunch of things in JavaScript. So this was something that I built because I watched a lot of my friends, unfortunately most of whom are women, get just reply guide all to hell whenever they would share anything about code on the internet. So I just captured some of the comments and put them into an ESLint plugin. This is open source. If you've got some worse ideas and you want to learn how ESLint works, go submit a PR. There are a lot of really good community submitted PRs in this, and they're infuriating. Another one that I built was when that Untitled Goose game came out. I thought it was brilliant, so I went and I built a little plugin that just takes over every link on the website, and instead of taking you where you try to go, it honks. So it absolutely breaks your website. This did not need to exist, but I'm so glad that it does. And things like this, while I'm building this, I learned with the ESLint plugin how ESLint works. I learned how to parse code and come up with something. And even though I was doing something silly, I was building professional skills. When I built this Honkify.js, I was learning how web audio works. I was learning about different interaction patterns, how to hijack user behaviors, for worse in this case, but you can use it for better. I have, this has been retired off of my stream, but I run a stream called Learn with Jason, where I pair program with people for 90 minutes, and they teach me something new. And one of the games that we used to have on this stream is that the chat could put a boop emoji into the chat, and it would fall from the ceiling and bounce around the screen and then stay there for about 15 seconds or so. So if enough people got motivated enough, they could absolutely bury me and my guest in boops. This is Sarah Drasner, who you can maybe recognize by the top of her head. And Cassidy Williams decided that she was gonna make sure nothing productive happened. So we spent the entire 90 minutes getting assaulted by boops. Now to build this, I had to figure out how Twitch chat works. So Twitch chat is built on top of IRC. It sends in these events. I had to figure out how to pull in IRC events. I had to then tie that to a system that I built that ended up, in my case, being a GraphQL subscription server. I don't know if I needed that, but I learned it. And then I had to figure out how to trigger an animation on my web-based video overlays. So this was a web app that I was laying over the top of live video, and I needed that to have real-time interactions. And then I had to learn how physics worked in JavaScript so that I could make the boops bounce off of each other in a way that was pleasing to me. Now, none of this, in any way, shape, or form, was actually useful. But I have reused so many of the things that I learned in professional projects as a side product, or as a byproduct of having learned it for this silly idea. So my silly personal projects helped me put up a flag that showed my teammates, that showed potential employers, that showed my manager, that if we wanted to do something novel, I was the person to put on that project because I was gonna dive in and I was gonna do something silly and I was gonna, probably come up with some bad ideas, but at least it wouldn't be the same old bad ideas that we always came up with. Similarly, these silly projects are things that I can share. And I've made friends, and I show them to my friends, and my friends laugh, and then they share them, and I make new friends. And it's allowed me to get more embedded in this community. I've met more people as a product of this. People that I didn't know very well saw that Reply Guy plugin, and we've ended up being friends ever since. The Honkify one lost me friends, so be careful. Like, not every project is gonna... But most importantly, these silly projects have helped me unlock an entirely new career path. When I was at IBM, I was a front-end developer. I was going down the front-end architect path. And I discovered, through building some silly stuff with GraphQL, that maybe I could teach this. I was doing internal advocacy at IBM to teach other teams how GraphQL worked, which then turned into an external advocacy job, teaching people who didn't work at IBM, but teaching the community in general how things worked. And then through that, and through more silly projects and the goofy things I did on my stream, I realized that using video to teach people is actually a pretty cool way to do that. You can reach more people. You can get further than you can in person or at an event. So then I chased that a little bit further. What would happen next? And now, these days, this is my job. I got to dress up Phil Hawksworth like a robot. This is the CTO of Netlify that I put in this stupid outfit. And this was for work. The dev cycle team paid my mortgage that month so that they could dress me up like a freaking wizard. And all of this is because I wasn't afraid to go do something silly and show it to my friends. And all of the things that I'm learning here have applications that aren't silly. I'm learning how to do video production, and I help companies do interviews, I help them do case studies, a lot of things that aren't silly. But then they also hire me for stuff like this that is silly, and it lets me escalate, right? At this point, I'm just working toward building a game show empire. I have a reality TV show that, for which company out there wants to hire me for this, by the way? But we should, but seriously, we should talk. A thing that I want to be really clear about is when I talk about fun, fun is not the opposite of hard work. It is really easy to dismiss fun as being the thing you do instead of putting in the time, instead of making a hard effort toward reaching your goals. But level of enjoyment and level of effort are two completely different measurements. You can work really hard and hate every minute of it, or you can work really hard to do something that you enjoy. And a lot of times, the hard work is part of the payoff. If you just get it right on the first try, it's okay. But if you have to work really hard and it's kind of frustrating, but then you unlock it and it works, the joy. It's beautiful. And that is a really, really good feeling. And so trying to embrace this as the sort of thing where I'm having fun because I want to work hard. I'm having fun because I want to go far in my career. Thinking of it as a power-up. This is an augmentation to the way that you approach work that can make it easier to do the hard things because it's fun. You want to go back to a fun project. And if you want to learn something really hard, if you find a way to make that hard thing fun to work on, you are so much more likely to follow through and finish. So, when you're doing this stuff, don't just follow the money, don't just follow the prestige, follow what somebody told you the career path should be. Instead, follow your heart, follow your curiosity. Try to find things that excite you, that you have a question, you really feel that need to answer that question. Follow your joy. Find things that when you finish them, you can't help but not share them with your friends. You can't help but get out there and say, I am so happy that this exists. It makes me laugh every time I look at it. You gotta try this. You gotta look at this. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. And with that, I don't want to keep anybody from the after party. So thank you all very much.